The foreclosure notice felt like a paper cut across my heart. I stood in my pristine kitchen, surrounded by the mundane comfort of Tuesday's mail sorting, staring at official letterhead that threatened to destroy everything I'd built. My name is Sandra, and according to this document, I owed $250,000 on a loan I'd never taken out. "Mark," I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. "Can you come here for a minute?" My husband appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie after another middle management day at the office. His easy smile faltered when he saw what I was holding. "What's that?" he asked, but the slight tremor in his voice told me he knew exactly what it was. "Funny thing," I said, laying the paper flat on our granite countertop. "Apparently, I took out a $250,000 loan to save your parents' boutique. Did you know about that?" Mark's face went through a series of micro-expressions: shock, guilt, fear, and finally, desperate charm. "Sandra, honey, I can explain." "Please do." I slid the paper toward him, because my signature is on this, but I don't remember signing it. Before Mark could respond, the front door opened. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, swept in like she owned the place, which, given this loan revelation, maybe she thought she did. "Oh, good, you're both here," Eleanor chirped, then noticed the tension. "What's wrong?" I held up the notice. "Care to explain why I'm on the hook for your boutique's debt?" Eleanor's perfectly lined lips tightened. "Mark, you said you'd handle this." "Handle what?" I demanded. "Forging my signature? Stealing my identity?" "Don't be dramatic." Eleanor waved her manicured hand dismissively. "It's a family matter. The boutique needed restructuring, and Mark made an executive decision. An executive decision about my financial future without consulting me? Darling," Eleanor's voice dripped condescension, "let's be realistic. You're a homemaker with Amazon Prime fingers. The men handled the complicated parts." The room went silent. Even Mark winced. "The men," I repeated slowly, "handled it." "Sandra," Mark stepped forward, "Mom doesn't mean—" "I know exactly what she means." I grabbed my car keys. "And I'm sure the fraud department will find it fascinating." Eleanor's face reddened. "You wouldn't dare. This is family." "Family doesn't commit identity theft," I snapped, heading for the door. "And family doesn't call me a glorified shopping cart." I made it to my car before the tears started. Sitting in the driveway, I thought about all the signs I'd ignored. Mark's nervous glances when mail arrived. Eleanor's smug comments about investing in the family's future. The boutique's mysterious renovation that somehow produced no visible changes. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Mrs. Wilkinson?" a formal voice asked when I answered. "This is James Morton from Cascade Collections. I need to verify your identity before we proceed with collection actions on the outstanding loan." "What outstanding loan?" I interrupted, though I knew exactly which one. "The business loan for Wilkinson Boutique Enterprises, co-signed by yourself and Mark Wilkinson on March 15th. My birthday. They'd forged my signature on my birthday. "EC," I said quietly. "And what documentation do you have of my consent?" "Full digital signature package, Mrs. Wilkinson. The loan is legally binding." I ended the call and sat there, watching through my windshield as Eleanor's silhouette paced in my kitchen window. She was probably telling Mark how to handle me again. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. "Please come back inside. We can talk about this." Another buzz. It was for the family. "Your family, too." I started the car. Family? The word felt bitter now, like something gone rancid. They'd gambled my financial future on a failing vanity project, forged my name, and then had the audacity to tell me I was overreacting. As I pulled out of the driveway, Eleanor appeared at the window, phone pressed to her ear. Probably calling their family lawyer, Eddie, to contain the situation, to handle things. Well, they were about to learn something about handling things. Because while they'd been dismissing me as just Mark's quiet wife, They'd forgotten one crucial detail. Before I chose to work from home, I'd spent 8 years as a corporate analyst specializing in hostile takeovers. I dialed my best friend Allison's number. "Hey," I said when she answered. "Remember when you said I should let you manage my portfolio? I think it's time we had that conversation and bring your fraud specialist contacts." "That bad?" she asked. "Worse," I replied. "They forged my signature on my birthday." Allison whistled low. "Give me 20 minutes. I'll meet you at Luna Cafe." I hung up and gripped the steering wheel tighter. They wanted to talk about family? Fine. Let's talk about family and the 250,000 reasons why blood isn't always thicker than water. Luna Cafe was quiet at this hour, just the occasional clink of cups and the gentle hum of laptop warriors. I sat across from Allison, watching her face darken as she reviewed the loan documents on her tablet. "This is beyond messed up," she muttered, zooming in on the signature. "Look at this. They didn't even try to match your handwriting properly." I leaned forward, studying the digital signature. They used DocuSign. I never received any verification emails, because they probably created a dummy email account. Allison's fingers flew across her screen. "Did you check your credit report?" "Not yet. I came straight here after." "Let's do it now." She pulled up a credit monitoring site. "Log in." My hands shook slightly as I typed. The report loaded, and there it was, a massive red flag waving in my face. "Holy shit," Allison breathed. "They used marital consent laws to push this through. See this notation? A joint asset declaration with spousal approval. They're trying to claim you knew about it because you're married to Mark." The waitress appeared with our coffees. I waited until she left before asking, "Can they do that?" "Not legally, not without actual proof of consent, but they've muddied the waters enough to make fighting it complicated." Allison paused, frowning at something on her screen. "Wait a minute. What's this about Mark Wilkinson Trust D?" "What trust?" "It's listed here as collateral." She turned the tablet toward me. Along with the boutique's assets, they've put up something called Mark Wilkinson Trust D as secondary collateral. I grabbed my own laptop. "I've never heard of it." "Google it," Allison suggested, already doing the same. "Sometimes these things show up in public records." 10 minutes of searching led us to a shareholder's document for a tech startup called Aurora AI. My heart started racing as I read. "Allison," I said slowly, "this trust owns 7% of a company that just got valued at $50 million. "What?" She nearly spilled her coffee reaching for my laptop. "Let me see that." "They used it as collateral without telling me. If I'm legally on the hook for this loan, then you have a claim to the collateral." Allison's eyes lit up. "Sandra, do you know what this means? That I can prove fraud?" "Better." She pulled out her phone. "I need to call someone. My firm has been tracking Aurora AI for months. They're about to announce a major partnership that could triple their value." While Allison stepped outside to make her call, I dug deeper into the trust documents. Mark's cousin Eddie's name was all over them as the managing attorney, the same Eddie who'd helped with the loan documentation. Allison returned, practically vibrating with excitement. "Okay, here's the deal. Aurora AI is currently restructuring their shareholder agreements. If we can prove the trust was used as collateral without proper consent, and if we move fast enough, we can what? We can potentially force a transfer of controlling interest to you as the injured party." She leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Sandra, this isn't just about the loan anymore. This is about leverage." "I don't understand." "The trust owns 7%. The company's looking for a majority shareholder to prevent a hostile takeover. If we can prove fraud and force a transfer before they finalize their new structure," she smiled wickedly, "you could end up with a controlling stake in a booming tech company." My phone buzzed. Another text from Mark. "Mom's really upset. Please come home so we can work this out." I showed it to Allison, who snorted. "Yeah, I bet she's upset. She thought you'd just roll over and take it. What should I do?" "First, we document everything. Then we talk to my friend at the fraud department." She started gathering her things. But most importantly, we don't let them know we found the trust. That's our ace. I stared at my coffee, now cold. I never wanted any of this. I just wanted a normal family. Honey, Allison reached across the table and squeezed my hand. They stopped playing normal family the moment they forged your signature. Now it's time to show them who they really messed with. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Eleanor. Sandra, dear, you're being terribly dramatic. The boutique is finally turning around. Don't ruin this for everyone. I showed Allison the message. She read it and smiled dangerously. Oh, we're not going to ruin the boutique, she said. We're going to take something much bigger. As we left the cafe, I felt something shift inside me. The quiet wife they'd taken for granted was gone. In her place stood someone else, someone who knew exactly how to turn their own weapon against them. Allison, I said as we reached our cars, how fast can we move on this? She checked her watch. Give me 2 hours to make some calls. Then we're going to pay Eddie a visit. After all, she grinned, family lawyers should be happy to help family, right? Sunday dinner at Eleanor and Gilbert's house felt like walking into a snake pit wearing a meat suit. But here I was, forcing a smile as Eleanor fussed over her roast beef, while my phone recorded every word from inside my purse. Sandra, darling, Eleanor gestured to the dining room with her wine glass. I'm so glad you decided to be reasonable about everything. I nodded, the picture of submission. Family first, right? Gilbert emerged from his study, patting Mark on the shoulder. That's the spirit. Mark said you were upset earlier, but I knew you'd come around. The boutique's doing so well now, Eleanor continued, arranging flowers in a crystal vase. We finally stabilized the business. Oh, I took a sip of wine. How did you manage that? Good business sense, Gilbert boasted, and Mark knowing when to handle things behind the scenes. Eleanor shot him a warning look, but kept talking. The spring collection is already paid for. We're even thinking of opening a second location. My stomach turned. They were planning to expand using my credit. More wine? Mark appeared at my elbow, ever the dutiful son. Please, I held out my glass, watching him pour. My husband of 7 years, who'd rather destroy me financially than stand up to his parents. After dinner, Eleanor cornered me in the kitchen while I helped with dishes. I know we've had our differences, she said, handing me a plate to dry, but you must understand we did this for the family's future. Of course, I smiled, though I'm curious about the logistics. How did you manage all the paperwork? Eleanor waved dismissively. Eddie handled everything. He's so good at finding creative solutions. Creative solutions, I repeated, carefully placing the plate in the cabinet. Like the trust? A slight pause in Eleanor's scrubbing. What trust? Never mind, I said quickly. I must be confused. Later that night, after we got home, I waited until Mark fell asleep. His password hadn't changed since our anniversary. Typical Mark, sentimental, but careless. I logged into his cloud storage, my heart pounding. There they were, folders of forged documents, spreadsheets tracking money movement between shell companies, emails, so many emails, from Eddie to Mark, subject, trustee collateral, Mark. Using the trust as collateral is risky. If Sandra discovers this and contests the loan, it could sink everything. Are you sure you want to proceed? From Mark to Eddie, subject, trustee collateral. Mom insists. Says Sandra will never know. She doesn't look at this stuff. Just do it. My hand shook as I forwarded everything to my secure email. 7 years of marriage reduced to, she doesn't look at this stuff. A new email popped up from Eleanor to a group including Mark, Gilbert, and Eddie. Subject, holding company update. The transfer from Aurora through the shell company is complete. Sandra's loan covered most of our debts. Eddie, make sure the paper trail is clean. We don't need any questions when we apply for the expansion loan. I was about to log out when I noticed a folder labeled Hudson Partnership. Inside was correspondence with someone named Alejandro discussing share percentages and voting rights in Aurora AI. My phone buzzed. Allison. Tell me you're seeing this, I whispered. Oh, I'm seeing it, she replied. They're using a shell company to funnel money from Aurora AI into the boutique. That's why they needed your loan, to cover their tracks. Can we use this? Better. We can use Alejandro Hudson. He owns 15% of Aurora AI, and from these emails, he has no idea about the shell company or the trust being used as collateral. I glanced at Mark, still sleeping peacefully. What's our next move? Keep playing nice, Allison said. Let them think you've accepted everything. I'm meeting with my firm's partners tomorrow. We're going to make sure that when we move, we take everything. I closed the laptop and slid back into bed. Mark stirred, reaching for me automatically. Everything okay? He mumbled. Perfect, I replied, staring at the ceiling. Just perfect. My phone lit up with a text from Eleanor. Such a lovely evening, darling. See, family doesn't hold grudges. I thought about the recordings, the emails, the evidence piling up in my secure cloud storage, about 7 years of condescension and dismissal, about my signature, forged on my birthday. No, I whispered to the dark, family doesn't hold grudges. Family gets even. Tomorrow, I'd smile and nod and play my part. But tonight, lying next to the husband who'd betrayed me, I made a promise to myself. When this was over, they'd understand exactly who they'd underestimated, and it would cost them everything. Eddie's law office reeked of leather and privilege. I sat across from him, my phone recording in my purse, watching him squirm as I played the role of concerned wife. I just want to understand the loan structure better, I said, channeling Eleanor's favorite helpless housewife tone. Mark suggested you could explain it to me. Eddie adjusted his tie. Did Mark specifically ask me to discuss this with you? Oh no, I laughed softly, but we're family, right? And family helps family understand things. He relaxed slightly. Classic Eddie. Always more comfortable when he thought he was dealing with someone beneath his intellectual level. The structure is quite straightforward, he began, patronizing smile in place. The loan was secured with mutual consent and backed by existing family assets. Including the trust? I asked innocently. A slight twitch in his left eye. The trust was part of the collateral package, yes. And that was done with spousal consent? Of course. He shuffled some papers. Mark assured us you were fully aware. Could you explain exactly how that consent was verified? I leaned forward, wide-eyed, just so I understand the process. Well, Eddie cleared his throat, as Mark's spouse, your consent was implicit in the marital assets clause, the trust being part of Mark's holdings. So the trust belongs to Mark. Yes, as confirmed in the mutual consent documentation. Got him. Every word captured on my recording. That's so helpful, I gushed. Eleanor always says you're the best at handling complicated legal matters. My phone buzzed. Allison's name flashed on the screen. Excuse me, I said, standing. I should take this. In the hallway, Allison was practically shouting. Sandra, we need to move now, right now. What's happening? Aurora AI is announcing their restructure tomorrow morning. If we file the transfer paperwork within the next 3 hours, your claim as an injured party takes precedence. We can force them to give you controlling interest before they can block it. My heart raced. How much time do you need? Meet me at my office in 30 minutes. Bring everything you've got from Eddie. I returned to Eddie's office, where he was typing something on his computer. Thank you so much for explaining everything, I said, gathering my purse. One last question. The shell company that processes the boutique's payments, is that also part of the trust structure? Eddie's fingers froze over his keyboard. I'm not sure what you're referring to. No? My mistake. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Eddie, you might want to call Mark. Tell him his quiet wife says hello. I was halfway to my car when I heard Eddie's office door slam open. By the time he reached the parking lot, I was already pulling out. My phone rang. Mark. "What did you say to Eddie?" he demanded. "Nothing he didn't already know," I replied calmly. "How's Mom and Dad's expansion plan going?" Silence. "Sandra," his voice cracked, "please don't do anything rash." "Rash?" I laughed. "Like forging my signature on my birthday? Or using my credit to launder money through a shell company? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. And now you're all going to learn what happens when you underestimate the quiet wife." I ended the call and dialed Allison. "I'm on my way," I said. "How solid is our case?" "Ironclad. Eddie just gave us the final piece, verbal confirmation that the trust belongs to Mark and was used with spousal consent. Combined with the forged documents and the shell company evidence, they can't stop the transfer. By the time they figure out what's happening, it'll be done. Eleanor and Gilbert's boutique expansion plans, they'll be coming to you for approval." I pulled into Allison's office parking lot, where she was waiting with a stack of papers. "Ready to become a tech company executive?" she asked, grinning. "Ready to show my loving family what happens when they play stupid games?" My phone lit up with texts. "Eleanor, whatever you're thinking of doing, stop it immediately. Gilbert, this is no way to treat family. Mark, please come home. We can talk about this. Eddie, as your family's lawyer, I strongly advise against any hasty actions." I showed them to Allison, who snorted. "Should we tell them?" "No," I said, following her inside. "Let them find out tomorrow when the ownership transfer hits the business news." "You know Eleanor will have a meltdown." "Good." I sat down at Allison's desk, pen poised over the transfer documents. "It's about time someone in this family had a reality check." "Speaking of reality checks," Allison said, pulling up an email, "wait until you see what Alejandro Hudson has to say about his shares being used without his knowledge." I smiled, signing my name, my real signature, on the dotted line. "Let's give him a call, shall we? I have a feeling we're about to become very good friends." Mark was waiting when I got home that night, pacing our living room like a caged animal. "Where have you been?" he demanded. "Eddie's been calling nonstop." I set my keys down calmly. "I had a lovely chat with Eddie today. Very educational. Sandra, whatever you think you're doing, why do your parents matter more than your own wife?" I cut him off, finally asking the question that had been burning inside me. Mark's face crumpled. "It's not like that. They were going to lose everything. The boutique, their retirement. So you decided I should lose everything instead? I was trying to protect everyone." He ran his hands through his hair. "Mom and Dad needed help, and you're so good with money, so careful. I knew you'd figure something out." "Figure something out," I repeated. "Like when I figured out you forged my signature? Or when I figured out about the shell company?" The color drained from his face. "How did you—" "Doesn't matter how. What matters is why." I stepped closer. 7 years, Mark. 7 years I've watched your mother treat me like an inconvenience. 7 years I've listened to your father dismiss everything I say. And you let them. They're my parents. And I'm your wife." My voice cracked. "Or did you forget that when you were signing my name on my birthday?" Mark slumped onto the couch. "I'm sorry, I was weak, I was stupid. But we can fix this." I sat beside him, softening my voice. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I did overreact." Hope flickered in his eyes. "Really?" "Let me sleep on it," I said. "We'll talk more tomorrow." The next morning, I drove to Eleanor and Gilbert's house. Eleanor opened the door with a triumphant smile. "Mark told us you've come to your senses," she said, ushering me inside. "I knew you would. Family doesn't hold grudges, darling." I accepted her offered coffee with a smile. "You're right, Eleanor. Family is everything." "Exactly." She patted my hand. "Now, about the expansion plans." Her phone rang. She glanced at it, frowned, then answered. "Hello? Yes. This is Eleanor. What? That's impossible. No, there must be some mistake. I sipped my coffee, watching her face transform from confusion to horror. What do you mean, new controlling officer? She demanded. The trust belongs to... No, you listen to me. She lowered the phone slowly, staring at me. What did you do? I protected my family, I said softly, just like you taught me. The AI company, the trust, that's Mark's. Actually, I set down my cup. As of 9 a.m. this morning, it's mine, along with controlling interest in Aurora AI. Funny how identity theft can backfire, isn't it? Eleanor's hands shook as she dialed Gilbert. Get home now. She's done something. Yes, now. I stood up. Don't worry about the boutique's vendor contracts. I'm sure the new management will be in touch soon. New management? Eleanor's voice rose to a shriek. What are you talking about? Oh, didn't you know? The shell company laundering money into your boutique? It's owned by the trust, which means I now control your funding. The front door burst open as Gilbert rushed in. What's happening? The bank just called. She's stolen everything, Eleanor spat. All our hard work, all our plans. Stolen? I laughed. No, Eleanor. I just collected what was legally mine. After all, that loan was in my name, remember? My phone buzzed. Allison sending a thumbs-up emoji. The transfer was complete. Ironclad. You can't do this, Gilbert growled. We'll fight it. With what lawyer? Eddie's already recused himself. Something about avoiding criminal liability. Eleanor sank into a chair. We'll be ruined. No, I corrected her. You'll be exactly where you put yourselves. And next time you decide to dismiss someone as just a homemaker with Amazon Prime fingers, remember this moment. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Eleanor? Family doesn't hold grudges. Family gets even. My phone rang as I reached my car. Mark. What have you done? He whispered. Mom's hysterical. I learned from the best, I replied. Your parents taught me everything I know about family loyalty. Please, he begged. We can still fix this. Through the window, I could see Eleanor crying in Gilbert's arms while he made frantic phone calls. No, Mark, I said quietly. We can't fix this. But don't worry. I'll handle everything from here. After all, isn't that what family does? I hung up and started the car, watching Eleanor's silhouette collapse in the window. They'd wanted a dutiful daughter-in-law who knew her place. Instead, they'd created something much more dangerous, a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to take. The call started at dawn. First Gilbert, then Eddie, then 3 different numbers I didn't recognize. I blocked them all while sipping my morning coffee, enjoying the silence of my empty house. At 9:30, my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera. Eleanor, alone and looking decidedly less polished than usual. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Yes? We need to discuss this misunderstanding, she said, trying to step past me. There's no misunderstanding. I didn't move. And you're not welcome here. I am your mother-in-law. You're the woman who helped steal my identity. I smiled coldly. Would you like me to show you the evidence? Eleanor's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her pallor. The boutique's main vendor called this morning. They're pulling out unless we can prove stable funding. How unfortunate. You have to release the trust funds, she hissed. Everything we've built will collapse. Everything you built on fraud, you mean? I pulled out my phone, showing her the email trail. Like this shell company that's been propping up your boutique? The one using laundered money from Aurora AI? You wouldn't dare expose that. It would destroy the whole family. Your family, I corrected. Not mine, not anymore. We can make this right. Eleanor's voice turned wheedling. Whatever you want. An official role in the business? A seat on the board? My laugh cut her off. I already have everything I want. I'm the controlling officer of a successful tech company, and you, I checked my watch, you have about 2 hours before your vendor pulls their entire inventory. You vindictive little... Careful, I warned. Remember who controls your financial lifeline now. She drew herself up, eyes blazing. You think you've won? We'll fight this. We have connections, influence. And I have proof of fraud, money laundering, and identity theft. I stepped closer. Would you like me to list every insult, every dismissive comment, every time you treated me like dirt? Because I have. For 7 years, I documented everything. Eleanor's face went from red to white. You planned this? No, you did. Every time you called me just a homemaker, every time you pushed Mark to choose between me and you, every time you made me feel worthless. I smiled. I just kept receipts. My phone buzzed. Allison. Excuse me, I said, answering. Yes? It's done, Allison announced. The vendor's pulling out. They're sending trucks to empty the boutique tomorrow. I ended the call and turned back to Eleanor. That was your vendor. Better hurry home. You have a lot of inventory to pack. This isn't over, she snarled, but her hands were shaking. Actually, it is. And Eleanor, I called as she stormed toward her car. Next time you're looking down on someone, remember, the quiet ones are usually taking notes. After she left, I checked my email. 3 messages from Mark, 1 from Gilbert, and, interesting, 1 from Alejandro Hudson himself. Subject, urgent discussion needed from Alejandro Hudson. Sandra, dear Sandra, I've just been made aware of some concerning activities involving Aurora AI shares and a trust I was led to believe was properly managed. I'd appreciate a meeting to discuss the situation and potential solutions. Best regards, Alejandro. I forwarded it to Allison with a single question. Time to show our cards? She replied instantly, let's meet him tomorrow. I have a feeling he'll be very interested in what we've uncovered about his investment. My phone rang again. Mark? The vendor's pulling out, he said when I answered. Mom's having a breakdown. That tends to happen when fraud catches up with you. Sandra, please. His voice cracked. This is my family. And what am I, Mark? What was I when you forged my signature? When you let your mother treat me like garbage? When you risked my entire financial future for their vanity project? Silence. That's what I thought. I ended the call and blocked his number. My laptop pinged with a news alert. Aurora AI announces major leadership changes. New controlling interest takes helm. I clicked the link, smiling as I read the press release. There was my name, listed as the new controlling officer. No mention of how I got there. Just a dry corporate announcement about restructuring and future growth. Another email popped up from Allison. Turn on the business news. Eleanor's having a very public meltdown outside the boutique. I switched on the TV just in time to see Eleanor being led away from news cameras by Gilbert, screaming about betrayal and family loyalty. Oh, Eleanor, I murmured, raising my coffee cup in a mock toast. You taught me everything I know about loyalty. And tomorrow, Alejandro's going to teach me everything I need to know about running your former empire. The moving truck pulled away from our driveway, leaving Mark standing alone on the front lawn. 3 weeks had passed since the takeover, and he'd finally accepted that I wasn't coming back. You don't have to move out, he said, watching me lock the front door. This is your house, too. No, it's your parents' house, I corrected. The down payment they gave us made that very clear. I've left them, he blurted. Moved into a condo across town. We could start over. I turned to face him. Start over? After you destroyed my credit, forged my signature, and let your mother treat me like dirt for 7 years? I was wrong, he stepped closer. I know that now. But our marriage died the moment you chose their boutique over my trust. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, winced, and declined the call. Mom, I guessed. She's not handling things well. He ran a hand through his hair. The boutique's being auctioned next week. I know, I'm attending. His head snapped up. Why? To watch, I said simply, to see what happens when karma finally arrives. Sandra, please. His voice cracked. The family's reputation's ruined. Dad can barely show his face at the country club. Mom's on anxiety medication. And whose fault is that? I stepped closer. Who decided to commit fraud? Who laundered money through shell companies? Who treated me like I was too stupid to notice? I never thought you were stupid. No, you thought I was convenient. A quiet wife who wouldn't ask questions. I laughed bitterly. Guess Eleanor raised a pretty stupid son after all. His phone buzzed again, Eleanor's face lighting up the screen. Answer it, I suggested. Tell her the quiet wife says hello. I got into my car, watching in the rearview mirror as Mark finally answered his phone. Even from here, I could hear Eleanor's shrill voice demanding answers. At my new apartment, Allison was waiting with takeout and wine. How'd it go? She asked, pouring me a glass. About as well as you'd expect. I kicked off my shoes. He tried the let's start over routine. Classic. She handed me a container of pad thai. Oh, by the way, Alejandro called. The board meeting went exactly as planned. I smiled, remembering the meeting where Alejandro and I had exposed the full extent of the family's financial manipulation. The other board members had been horrified and impressed by how thoroughly I documented everything. Eddie's law firm dropped them, Allison continued. Apparently, they're worried about liability. How's the boutique auction looking? 3 serious buyers, none of whom will keep Eleanor's vision. She grinned. One wants to turn it into a discount outlet. My phone lit up with a text from Gilbert. This isn't what family does to family. I showed it to Allison, who snorted. Should we tell him what you found in the old trust documents? About how he and Eleanor did the exact same thing to his brother 20 years ago? No. I sipped my wine. Let them sweat. Another text, this time from Eleanor. The auction is private. You're not welcome. Actually, I typed back, as the controlling interest in the property's primary lender, I have every right to attend. See you there. Allison raised her glass. To karma. To consequences, I countered. My phone rang. Alejandro. Sandra, he said when I answered. The tech division heads want to meet tomorrow. They're excited about your ideas for expansion. I'll be there. I paused. After the auction. Yes, the famous boutique. He chuckled. You know, I've been doing some digging of my own. Found some interesting parallels between what they did to you and what happened to Gilbert's brother back in '03. Family patterns repeat. Indeed. He cleared his throat. Speaking of patterns, there's an opening on the executive board. Given your background in corporate analysis, I caught Allison's eye, seeing her enthusiastic nod. I'd be honored, I said. After hanging up, I scrolled through my photos, finding one from 7 years ago, my wedding day. Eleanor stood next to me, already wearing that subtle look of disdain. Mark beamed, clueless to the dynamics at play. Gilbert raised a glass, toasting family unity. Hey, Allison touched my arm. You okay? I delete the photo. Better than okay. Tomorrow I'm going to sit in that auction house and watch their empire crumble. Then I'm going to walk into a board meeting and help build something new. And Mark? Mark can keep running back to mommy. I poured more wine. I'm done being the quiet wife who takes notes and swallows insults. It's time to be the woman who takes control. My phone buzzed one last time, a group text from Eleanor to the entire family. This auction is a temporary setback. We will rebuild. I typed back 3 words. No, you won't. Then I blocked them all and turned back to my future. The auctioneer's gavel fell with a decisive crack. Sold to Midwest Outlet Group. Eleanor's wail echoed through the auction house. I watched from the back row as she collapsed into Gilbert's arms, her designer outfit a stark contrast to her disheveled appearance. Final sale price, $800,000, the auctioneer announced. Property to be vacated within 30 days. Less than half what they'd invested, less than the loan they'd forged in my name. Mark stood alone in the corner, watching his parents' empire sell for pennies on the dollar. He caught my eye but quickly looked away. My phone buzzed. Alejandro, ready for the board meeting? On my way, I replied, standing to leave. Aunt Sandra! Eleanor's voice cut through the murmuring crowd. She stormed toward me, Gilbert trying to hold her back. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? I turned slowly. What I wanted was to be treated like family. What I got was fraud and contempt. We gave you everything, she hissed. No, I corrected her. You took everything from me. I just took it back with interest. Mom, Mark stepped forward. Stop. You, she rounded on him. This is your fault. If you'd controlled your wife. Controlled? I laughed. There's your problem, Eleanor. You thought I needed controlling. You never considered I might be the one in control. Gilbert released Eleanor's arm. The trust, he said quietly. You knew about my brother. Thomas? I smiled. Yes, I found those documents too. Fascinating how history repeats itself. You and Eleanor did to him exactly what you tried to do to me. Eleanor's face went white. That was different. Was it? Forged signatures? Hidden trusts? Family loyalty used as a weapon? I stepped closer. The only difference is Thomas let you win. I didn't. We can still fix this, Mark pleaded. The family name is exactly where it deserves to be. I checked my watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting to attend. Something about expanding Aurora AI's tech division. Wait, Gilbert called as I reached the door. What happened to Thomas? After what we did? Why don't you ask him yourself? I nodded toward the entrance where a man in a sharp suit stood watching. Alejandro found him pretty easily once we started looking. Thomas walked forward, his resemblance to Gilbert unmistakable. Hello, brother. Eleanor. Been a while. Eleanor grabbed Gilbert's arm. You can't be here. Actually, Thomas smiled. I can. Sandra invited me. We had quite an interesting conversation about family patterns. Thomas is joining Aurora AI's board, I added. Turns out he's built quite a successful consulting firm since you forced him out of the family business. Gilbert swayed slightly. Thomas, Save it. Thomas's voice was cold. I'm not here for reconciliation. I'm here to watch karma finally arrive. My phone buzzed again. Allison, reminding me about the board meeting. Thomas? I gestured to the door. Shall we? Sandra, Mark called out. Please. I paused. You know what's funny, Mark? For 7 years, I tried so hard to be part of this family, to earn their respect, to be more than just the quiet wife. Thank you for showing me I was wasting my time. We're still family, Eleanor protested weakly. No, Thomas and I said simultaneously. We shared a knowing look. Family doesn't forge signatures, I continued. Family doesn't steal identities. Family doesn't treat loyalty like a weapon. But family does teach valuable lessons, Thomas added, like how to recognize fraud, how to document everything, how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. I opened the door, letting in the bright morning sun. Goodbye, Eleanor. Give my best to the outlet store owners. Walking to my car with Thomas, I heard Eleanor's sobs echo through the auction house. Mark's attempts at comfort, Gilbert's heavy silence. Ready for the board meeting? Thomas asked as we pulled away. Actually, I smiled, I have a better idea. Want to grab coffee first? I'd love to hear more about how you rebuilt after they tried to destroy you. Sounds perfect, he laughed. You know, when Alejandro called me about this situation, I couldn't believe the parallels. They taught us both the same lesson, I said, watching the auction house disappear in my rearview mirror. Never mistake silence for weakness. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Mark. I'm filing the divorce papers tomorrow. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. I didn't reply. Instead, I turned to Thomas. Tell me about your consulting firm. I think Aurora AI might have some interesting opportunities for collaboration. Behind us, Eleanor's boutique stood empty, waiting for its new owners. Ahead, a boardroom waited for decisions I would help make. And somewhere in between, Karma had finally balanced the books. They wanted a quiet wife. They created a CEO instead. Karma never worked fast enough for me, so I gave it a helping hand.